I want to invite up Jeff Hagen. Jeff Hagen is somewhere around. Hey, Jeff, come on up. Just a preface of what Jeff is doing. Last week, we began something we're doing during the season of Lent, on the Sundays leading up to Easter. We're having different members of this congregation share just little stories of pain from the past year, suffering, even experiences of coming near to death in the past year. And why are we doing that? Well, because Lent's the season leading up to Good Friday and Easter, leading up to our celebration of what the empty tomb of the crucified and risen King really means for you and me. And we only really get the context for all that when we understand what we've been saved from and the things that we still experience that we need to be delivered from. So you're going to keep hearing stories. Last week was Claire. This week's Jeff. Next week, I believe, is Renee. About some pain points in this congregation that I really think reflect a lot of what the city at large has experienced the last couple years. So that's what Jeff's doing. Jeff, you can take it.
Excuse me. So as John said, my name is Jeff Hagen, and I'm regretting agreeing to do this right now because I don't enjoy this. So many of you may not know me or even recognize me because I tend to sit in the balcony and slip out as soon as service is over because I don't enjoy conversations. Ironically, I'm a professional counselor who spends most of my working hours talking and listening to people. So when Carol and John first asked me to share part of my story, I stopped reading the email and just laughed because I'm very good at avoiding anything that makes me uncomfortable. But John and my wife, Carrie, encouraged me to do this, so I figured I would step outside my comfort zone a little bit. So my wife and I have lived in Philadelphia for 17 years, 8 of them in Fairmount, and the last 9 in Northern Liberties. I love my city, I love my neighbors, I love my block. And as I said, I'm a licensed professional counselor who's worked in the city, or worked in that profession for 21 years, most of those in the city. For 6 years, I worked at a place called Joseph J. Peters Institute. It's where we dealt specifically with survivors of sexual abuse and I worked mostly with the offender population. Where I work now, I also have several clients that have trauma histories. So I'm still dealing with that a lot. Throughout my adult life, I've only known trauma through the eyes of my clients, and I've always been able to manage it and work with it and not have it really affect me too much. That all changed for me on April 14th of last year. Around 6:30 p.m. during Restaurant Week in Northern Liberties, I was walking home from the Acme on Girard, carrying a bag with coffee and a small bouquet of flowers in a plastic bag. I was walking home, taking my normal route, made a right onto George Street and then left onto American. And as I was walking up American Street, I heard noises of loud yelling, cursing, bunch of stuff that I'd heard at the Acme parking lot when I was leaving there. So as I was walking, I heard the sounds coming from around the corner. And I thought, oh crap, I don't feel like dealing with this. Then I realized that the car was driving next to me, alongside of me, and going the wrong way down the wrong one-way street. The teenagers were all yelling at me. I don't know what they were saying, but I was annoyed, but thought, I've dealt with things like this before, so just keep walking. In a flash, one of the young men jumped out of the car and was walking aggressively towards me, and then he was punching me in the head. I stumbled and somehow didn't fall down, and I started running. Made a quick left onto Liberty's Walk, where 30 or so people were dining outside for Restaurant Week. Plenty of the people were watching what happened, but no one said or did anything, to the point where I actually wondered if what happened had actually happened. I was trying to stay near people, and I called 911. As I told the operator where I was and what had happened, I was struck again in the back of the head and sent stumbling into the street. I dropped my phone, and then followed terrifying minutes where I tried to outmaneuver what had now become 3 teenage attackers. I managed to outrun them, but before I did, I made eye contact with one of the young men. I remember thinking, you shouldn't still be chasing me right now, and I was terrified. I turned into El Camino, believing that surely there would be safety there. I was sure that there would be safety there among other people. And I was met by the host, who, after hearing what I said that I need help, she asked me, do you have a mask? Fortunately, I did, and I pulled it up. She called the police, and as she walked away, I turned towards the door and saw two of the young men come into the restaurant after me and started walking right at me. I didn't know what to do, so I said something like, what do you want from me? Leave me alone, which got enough attention from the diners, where they looked at the two young men who looked at each other and then finally left. Shortly after that, the police arrived, took my statement and a statement from a few witnesses who now had stepped up to offer what they saw. Hours after that, I encountered another victim of the same group of people while I was giving my report to the detective. He is actually in worse shape than I was, at least physically. I don't know mentally. The next day, I began experiencing the effects of what was now my own trauma experience. What shocked me the most, more than the assault, was that nobody tried to help me. I know my neighborhood well, and I love it. I've chosen to raise my two children there. I thought I knew it, and I thought it would be there to help protect me. I struggle most days with anxiety, with disappointment in the witnesses to my assault that shattered many of the things that I believed in. I'm left with an overwhelming feeling of uncertainty. Every day is a challenge. Some days are better than others. Even though I'm highly specialized in trauma therapy, I had no idea how to admit that I was a survivor, rather that I am a survivor. When asked to talk today, I knew right away that I wouldn't have any specific aha God moments to share about how my experience has been over the past year. But I also know that I've experienced a lot of grace. It's come in small gestures and from unexpected places. My family, of course, has given me unwavering support, even as they've struggled to know how to help me. My boss and my supervisor, both of whom I don't know if they're believers or have anything to do with God, have offered insight and support and space to struggle that has left me speechless. I've been able to ask them and others for help to support me. It's something that I've struggled to do for my whole life. I've been more vulnerable, and that has been a hard thing, but a good thing. So while I struggle each day to search for a way to find myself on the other side of this, I'm grateful for the seemingly small graces that have given me resilience and desire to keep pursuing hope.